Geeks and Gamers, Matt Lemke here with Through Gamer Goggles, gamer-goggles.com. Today we have another flip through. This one's on Pathfinder's Ultimate Intrigue. We'll start off with the table of contents, which as you can see, a good 50-60 pages of it is basically the single class that's in the book, which is the Vigilante and all the different archetypes that are in the book. You have feats, which is only like 4 pages in this in the Ultimate Intrigue, and then you have Chapter 3, which is roughly 60 pages on Mastering Intrigue, and then you have another, from page 164 to 189, about 30 to 40 pages on Social Combat, and different skills that are used to heighten skills that already exist and ways to apply them better to your intrigue. And then they have spells, gears, and magic items. So the very first thing, well, obviously there's the introduction, why you might want to use this book, the overview of the classes and how to use the book as well. But then you move into the Vigilante. Now the Vigilante is a little bit of a unique character because, he's kind of like a cross between a rogue and a ranger. You do get to pick like a combat path for your Vigilante, so you get to pick that pretty early on. The other thing that's really unique and interesting about the Vigilante is that you get to you get to have a second identity, which allows you to also have a second alignment. Then we move into the archetypes, and there's all kinds of archetypes in the book. I'm not going to cover them all. I haven't even read them all, but I did read ones that stuck out. For example, on page, I think it's roughly 40, the Ranger. There's 2 actually Ranger archetypes I like. Guildbreaker, which is very specialized and to me is more of an NPC kind of a archetype, but that's just the way we play. The one I liked is the Transporter. They basically specialize in smuggling people. So it's like, as a transporter, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's right out of the movie, right? Jason Statham eats your heart out type of thing. And I like the storyline that is, and I just love the idea of being able to maybe play a character that does that sort of thing. He might not fit in every party, so he might be an NPC type as well. But, each to his own, right? And then we move in through all these chapters here. You've got swashbucklers, veiled blades, Vigilante archetypes included in the book as well. And then, they have this whole chapter that's pretty important on spellcasting. It's not the whole chapter. They go over, that's still archetypes. But they go over a section later in the book on the spells and how some of them apply to intrigue and reminding us of how charm doesn't allow you necessarily to control other people. Still in Chapter 1. Chapter 2 is really about, it's about the feats. And there's, not like a lot of times you get a ton of new feats with your Pathfinder games. Your books, or it seems like there's more pages on them at least. There's a handful of pages. And if you can hear that noise in the background, that's my kitten climbing styrofoam terrain. And then after you move through all your feats, which, there's all kinds of them here. There's Planner Wanderer, there's Sabotage magic items I thought was cool, because you can cause items to suffer mishaps. If you're playing in a campaign where you like magic, the idea of magic being unstable, that can be a lot of fun. We'll zoom in on it so you guys can get a better look. Then we'll zoom back out. Then we'll move into Chapter 3. Now, Mastering Intrigue is really, in my opinion, what a lot of this book is about. This chapter and the next chapter are really the meat of the book, and you can actually apply most of these things to any game that you run. Now, they introduce or enhance current things that exist within Pathfinder, but the intrigue systems basically work around influence, heists, leadership, Nemesis, it doesn't sound right, pursuit, which is really interesting. We're going to spend a little bit of time talking about that. Research, and spells of intrigue, and that's the chapter I was talking about. Many spells cause problems, and this is how they work in your intrigue-based game. So now, influence is well, it is just as it sounds. It's a rule system that measures how much influence characters gain and lose throughout the course of your campaign. Heist is a rule set for basically pulling cons, stealing from museums, stealing from people, that require time and planning. Normally, it's kind of like a reverse role. The GM takes the back seat and lets the players create the story. Nemesis is, well, it's actually just as it sounds. It's how to create dramatic enemies for your PCs. Pursuit is well, we'll just say it's tiles, and it's like a sequence of events that are effectively random, but they're designed. This whole rules system is designed to enhance a chase from point A to point B, or with any stops, in between, with various results based off of what your party does every day. And research, greater information on researching at libraries and things of that nature. And that is pretty much, there's a lot more detail to it than that, because, the next 30 or 40 pages are all on these different systems and how to use them and how to play them. I really I haven't used it yet, but I like the idea behind Pursuit. And, I didn't mention it, but leadership. The idea of leadership in Intrigue is all about enhancing the current leadership skill while causing problems for the player using it. I think that's what Jason Bowman would say. It's not all about causing problems, but it's about taking leadership and putting it in perspective in the sense that with great responsibility, or great power, comes great responsibility. How do things like your leadership followers, I'll just say, being assassinated affect you as a player? And then we're still in Chapter 3. Now, Chapter 4, Pursuit rules, it's really cool. And then you move into Chapter 4, which, as you can see, it's back here a little bit. They have social conflicts. And there's, this whole thing right here is on how to run social conflicts in your campaign. Now, this one is actually a great picture actually, it might even be my favorite picture of the book, because it puts one of these social combats into great perspective. And that is, well, here, we'll go back to the table of contents real quick so you can see them all. And we'll just kind of discuss them there. There's verbal duels, social conflicts. And social conflicts, basically, social conflicts are large. They're large. They would play, in my opinion, they kind of would play hand in hand with the influence system very well. Because they're about how choices and events affect the players and the characters, and even the world beyond them, I would say. Now, verbal combat, which is where I was saying this picture is perfect for, verbal combat is basically your PC and an NPC. I don't know where the picture went. Well, here's another great picture for it. This is actually where verbal combat really begins, verbal duels, I should say. And basically, they're debating or arguing in the front of a court. And they have this whole thing with charisma and bluff, leadership, diplomacy, and how all these things can affect the outcome of this argument. Obviously, as a GM, you can just role-play it, but you have different ways to make the argument, and they offer up the idea of a red herring, presence, emotional appeal, so you might be talking to a jury of your peers, baiting, allegories, all kinds of things, and they have an example duel where two guys argue back and forth, and the whole concept is kind of based off of this or sliding scale of where the two players are, and basically it's kind of like whoever has the highest number wins sort of thing, but there are certain outcomes where at some point in time it becomes pointless to continue your argument. And then there's skills in conflict, and this basically takes skills like bluff, diplomacy, and it heightens them and makes them a new level for your intrigue games. And then we move into chapters 4 and 5, which are really about spells, of course. And I didn't cover all the spells in depth. The gear, though, I always look at gear. I'm a gear nut. I'm a gear nut. They have some pretty interesting things. My favorite my favorite magic item, I should say, was where is it? No, not the lockpick shield. Where is it? Coat of the Undercity. Now, I'm not a big coat guy normally, but this one allows you to transform the wearer into giant cockroaches as vermin-shaped one, which pretty much allows you to go anywhere you want, right? Just don't get squashed. And it pretty much sums up Ultimate Intrigue. So my final thoughts. Well, I am currently playing in a game where Ultimate Intrigue is going to be a super addition to our campaign. So I actually enjoy this a lot. If our GM wants to use some of these things, I suspect we're going to have a lot more fun in the near future. I believe that Ultimate Intrigue offers something for just about every campaign, not necessarily every game or session, I should say. But there's enough in here, especially when you look at the archetypes and things of that nature, that it's well worth it. I think the best part is verbal duels are amazing, and at least half of the intrigue systems were needed for the maturity of the Pathfinder universe. I'm not sure they would apply well to other game systems. Normally, a lot of things that Pathfinder does apply very well to other systems if you're looking for things. So anyway, thanks for watching. This has been a flip through with Matt Lemke from Through Gamer Goggles, gamer-goggles.com.